it's Anais and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about my piercing horror stories part 2. If you haven't seen part 1 of the story, I highly recommend it. I'll link it up in the cards for y'all and also down in the description for the mobile users. Alright, let's get started with the horror stories. Y'all, it gets worse. I had so many stories I actually had to make a list on my phone, and I'm just gonna pick up from last time, and it looks like the next one is my lip piercing. My lip piercing has to be one of the shortest lip piercings that I've ever had, and it has 100% to do with this story. How old was I in this story? 16? 16, no, 17. In this story, I was 16 going on 17, and for some reason, my parents trusted me to go to South by Southwest. South by Southwest is an awesome music festival. I had so much fun when I went, but like I said, I was 16, and most of the activities at the festival at this time were 18 and up. Because I wanted to look older, I decided to pierce my lip. Does that make sense? No. But that's just the way my mind worked when I was 16. So I asked my brother for some of his piercing equipment and decided to pierce myself. Do I need to make another disclaimer? Don't pierce yourself. Don't do it. Please don't do it. So when I did this piercing, it only took me like 30 minutes to get the needle in because I was terrified. And my plan all along to hide this from my parents was to just screw the little ball off and keep the back side of the piercing in. And if you don't know what I mean, I'll put a picture right here so y'all can kind of get a little bit of a mental picture of what I wanted left on my lip. When I tried to screw the ball off, it was not coming off. I tried everything for about 45 minutes. And just when I was about to cry, because I thought about going to the emergency room to get this thing cut off, I decided to pray. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I asked God for help. So basically, I told Jesus that I was sorry for defying my parents, and that if he just helped me to get this little tiny ball off of the jewelry, I was only gonna keep it in for South by Southwest, and then I was gonna take it off. So I tried to loosen it again, and it came right off. And 16-year-old me was like, thank you so much, God. I swear to you that I'm gonna take this off as soon as South by Southwest is over, okay? Just let me have it, I wanna be cool. And I'm a woman of my word, so I took it off after the festival. I'm going to hell. Next up, we have the weirdest piercing that I've ever gotten before in my life. Actually, no, yeah, it's the weirdest piercing. When I was 17, I was browsing the web for easy to hide piercings. Mom and Dad, I am so sorry. And I came across a smiley piercing, and if you're wondering what that is, I'll put another picture on this side. And my first thought was, wow, hideous. I hated this piercing so much, and I thought it was so ugly. And 1 week later, I had to have it. It was all I could think about. I wanted this piercing so bad. I heard it was relatively easy to do it yourself, so what did I do? I got some of that numbing throat spray. Hey now, it's for whenever you're sick, okay? But anyway, I put some of that throat numbing spray on the little flap right underneath my lip. And it numbed it, and I pierced it, and everything was cool, except for I didn't have any jewelry to put in. So I just smacked on a regular earring and then put a backing on it and called it a day. I went to my neighbor's house and hid from my parents the rest of the day because there was a giant bump right here on my lip where you could obviously see that something was underneath. Not to mention, I was talking pretty funny. When it was nighttime, I finally gathered the courage to go home. And as I was saying goodnight to my mom, she noticed. Oh, she noticed. She came right up to me and dug her finger straight into my fresh piercing. And she asked me if I had a cold sore. So I held my tears in the best that I could because it hurt really bad. And I covered my mouth and I was like, yeah, but it's going away, it's fine. The next day I got some appropriate jewelry and she never found out. Also, I'm convinced that I'm the first person in Houston to get that piercing because I called a bunch of tattoo shops and nobody knew what it was or that it was even possible, but I have seen it a few times since then. And last but not least, we're gonna talk about my septum piercing. Y'all, this is a piercing that I have wanted so bad all of my life. I think it's cute, but for some reason, I have like the world's most sensitive septum ever. But anytime I just came near it with a needle, it would hurt. When I was in high school, are all these stories when I was in high school? Anyway, when I was in high school, I finally pierced it myself. And honestly, the jewelry was way too thick, it was too big, I hated it, and I took it out the next day. Oh, and I had a really bad cold, so it was just a nightmare. And years down the line, I went to a piercing shop with one of my friends, and I really wanted my tragus pierced. Tragus? I don't know. And it was a nightmare. You guys, the piercer was okay, but how can you mess up a septum piercing, right? I'll tell you how. I believe he didn't clamp me down or anything. He just went free-handed. He took the needle and bloop, right through my septum, right? As he turned around to get the jewelry, guess what happened? The needle slipped out. So, I had a fresh hole in my nose with no jewelry in. And because somebody else had already messed up my nose like that, I knew that a real professional would tell me, go home, let the swelling go down, come back in 2 weeks. So when it slipped out, I was like, dude, it's cool. Let me go home. I've already paid for this piercing, but let me go home, write me a little note or something. I'll come back in 2 weeks and you can redo it. This man just did not want me to go home. And with his professional opinion, somehow, he talked me into staying and having him pierce it again. And it hurt so much worse the second time. And it swelled so bad that I thought he pierced it crooked. Everybody had already seen on my Snapchat that I got my septum pierced. And everybody wanted to see it, but I was so embarrassed by the thought of it being crooked that I just flipped it in and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take it back down in 2 weeks and see if it's actually crooked or if it's just the swelling. Because I had read that people had similar experiences and the swelling was so bad that it just looked crooked. And thank God, it was just the swelling. I mean, I hope it's not crooked. I don't know, I can't really tell, you know, but like, I think it's not crooked. Anyway, 99% of the time I actually have my septum flipped in. I just really feel like I got this piercing for myself. And I like having the option of having a septum piercing, but I also like having it flipped up sometimes. And for some reason, this really annoys people because it kind of always looks like there's a booger in my nose. Guys, please don't let my suffering be for no reason. Like up this video. Also, put any piercing horror stories that you have down there. I would love to hear those. And as always, if you want to see more of my face, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see y'all next time.